Greetings and salutations, this is Rick. I do hope you're having a great day. This is just a very brief introduction to this particular video, just to let you know that this is not necessarily going to appeal to most of my subscribers. This is a video that we created at the last LARP event at Empire, and it's a question and answer session for new players. So if that's not your cup of tea, then you might want to miss this video and move on to the next one whenever that one comes out. So that's it for this introduction. Let's get on with the video. Greetings and salutations, this is Rick. I hope you're having a great day. As you can tell, I'm sat in the Orzel tent and I have a couple of guests with me. This is Kate, who you've seen in the previous video, and this is Holly. Now you may recognise Holly's voice from the Empire animation, because Holly is incredibly clever and she did that animation all by herself, didn't you?
Yeah, it was my master's degree project.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And she did the voiceover for it as well. So there we go, the face to the voice of the Empire animation. So, as you know, we all play a character within the Empire. We're in Anvil at the moment, which is this magical little world that we all sort of fallen in love with. And so, Kate, tell me about your character.
So my character is called Lady Gronya Orzel. She, when I was last in the video, she was a knight errant, and last event she passed her test of mettle, so she is now a lady. Yay!
Don't you mean grainy?
Oh no, Gronya. But yeah, and she's in.
I can put the spelling on the screen, and,
Yes.
and then you'll know why I want to keep calling
Gronya.
her Grainy.
Gronya.
Because it's pronounced Gronya, but
Oh,
it's spelled
Gronya.
Grainy.
I just shortened it to Glee. So anyway, yeah, and I'm in Dawn.
So Holly, tell us about your character.
Actually, before I introduce my character, can I just point something out?
Mm.
Like, I've got to clear my name. Like,
I'm sorry.
like,
Yeah.
Kate, you drop me like a PM over Facebook and you say, oh, look out for a mention on Rick's video, and then, oh, I like open it up, oh, are they going to mention the video? Like, oh, Estella is such a slag.
The first interaction you have with Gronya, it's like a really, heavy flirting. Hi,
Yeah, that
how's
is
it going? Nice
that
to
is the
meet you.
motivation of the character. That's what she lives and breathes. I
Fair.
play a league mountebank called Estella the Wandering Artist, and what I do on the field is that I call myself a tour guide because I quite enjoy helping new players, but I'm also function as a priest mechanically.
And Rick, can you tell us about your character?
Yes, my character's called Ned. He's a non-combatant artisan. He's nicknamed Ned the Bewildered because he has no clue about Anvil. He's completely bewildered by Anvil, and he's really
He's a sheltered lad.
Yes, he's really struggling to take it in and understand it. So, yeah, and he doesn't do a lot apart from kind of just wander around and be bewildered.
And bewildered.
Be bewildered, yeah, bewildered.
He just walks around like this.
Yeah. Because that's the kind of place this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
You
can
get
lead
used to
you.
it. It only took me 3 years.
Yeah. So we're here today because we've asked on some of the forums if anybody has any beginner questions about joining Anvil and coming to Anvil, joining Empire. So all of the questions that we got, we put in a hat, and we're going to pull them out and try to
Glorious
answer them.
hat.
A glorious hat.
Glorious hat.
That's a league hat, isn't
Yeah,
it?
don't call it glorious. It's a beautiful hat.
With feathers.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Shall we ask the first question? Shall I ask the first question? Because you guys are going to answer it, because I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer these questions. So I'll ask a question.
We'll see. I think there's a
And,
couple in there which you might be able to answer.
Who's it from?
Okay, this is from Dan. What was the part of the game you found hardest to get your head around? How do you feel about it now?
Everything.
Yeah,
Everything.
it is a massive game. It's not a beginner's game, is it?
No, it's not a beginner's game. It's actually, if you start with Empire as your first LARP, I mean, it's perfectly feasible. I mean, Rick, you've done it, and you're still here, and that's wonderful. But Empire is, like, if I'm perfectly honest, it's not a game for beginner LARPers, really. But it's because it's so dense, jam-packed with lore and things to understand. And
Gets a bit overwhelming.
it gets massively overwhelming, and especially if you've come from a D&D background, We're used to having, so many options. The thing about Empire's Brief is that it's sort of limited technically on options. Like, you can only choose the 10 nations, right? But there's sort of like opportunity in that limited sort of like creativity, because it means that everybody's on the same level knowledge-wise. Everybody can sort of like knows the same thing, but you can, within that limitedness, you can find creative opportunity. You can make something out of it. You can even make something new that wasn't there before. But it can be quite tough. But it's not impossible, and it's a great game. No, not at all.
Because
no.
you can literally, like I've done, you can come along, not know anything about it, and just like soak into the atmosphere, and you just generally start to pick up little bits and pieces. I mean, for me, it's been really small amounts, but it's not stopped me coming here, because it's just such a magical place anyway. And with time, you do find that you start to pick up. Like, to be honest, I'm picking up more than I think I am. Every now and again, I'll suddenly make references to something. Oh, I retained that bit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
No.
Some people say that you get out of it what you put into it. But
Absolutely.
to be honest, I haven't put a huge amount into it. Yet I've still got a lot out of it. So.
Yeah. When I say it's not like a beginner's game, like, you can still come to it and still enjoy it, but just know that it's going to be quite just massive. And just be a little bit prepared for that, and enjoy it, because that's one of the things that makes it so wonderful. This particular setting is that it's so rich and complex, and everything's there for you.
Absolutely.
And you can walk around and be bewildered, just like me, and enjoy it.
I have a bit of a game that I found difficult to
Sorry,
get into.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So, as somebody who's never done LARP before, as you say, it's really difficult to get into. So I think the thing that I found most overwhelming was actually the game mechanics. So, for example, the ritual game. You've got the freedom of being able to interpret the rituals however you want to. You could do a stupid dance, you could sing a song, you could chant, you could do whatever
Plays.
you want. Yep, you could do a play. I
Yeah.
did a play last. Yeah, it's so fun.
So much fun.
But, so you have all of that freedom, but then on the other end of the scale, there's loads of numbers that you have to add up, and those numbers depend on where you do that ritual, what magnitude that ritual is, how much money you need. So you just need to be aware that you need to do a little bit of groundwork first, so you understand that. So don't be alarmed by the game mechanics, but be aware that it is there. There are solid rules that you have to follow.
You can really make it as simple as complicated as you want. Like, a great analogy for it is just like a buffet. Like, you can pick and choose what you like.
That's a
You
really good
don't
analogy,
have
actually.
to. You really don't have to. Like, you could go into it and not engage in any plot and still have a good time.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's not essential.
yeah, but there are some people who are here just to, like, fight and drink. There are some people who are really interested in the finance game. There are some people who are really interested in politics. It's just a massive buffet. Like, just pick out the things that you like and make it your own.
That's a
That's
good
the way to do
description.
it, yeah.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Right, we'll go with the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is fun.
Right, this is from Uncle Goosey. Uncle Goosey, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is a
Name.
Discord question. This was
Okay.
from the Discord server.
Right. What is your perspective of Empire as someone who experiences anxiety? Do you have tips and tricks on how to handle it?
I don't.
I am an expert on this.
I think both myself and Kate have something
I-
to add to this one.
I mean, I have, like, experience, but I don't have any answers. Oh,
Go, Rick, go.
No, ladies first. After you.
Okay. I have really intense anxiety, so like joining Empire, just the idea of it was absolutely terrifying. So it's taken, I think, 5 events to be able to manage it, and even then, sometimes you have a bad day. There are loads of people who will understand the position that you're in, so it's all good. All you have to do is pluck up the courage to say, "Hi, I need help."
yeah. There are also people have set up sort of like safe zones across the field.
Oh,
Quiet
Yeah.
places.
Quiet spots.
I think they're called spoonie tents.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
In fact, there's
Oh.
a group, like, I've forgotten what it's
Yeah,
called.
it's the Spoonie
Disabled
Facebook,
Spoonie
Yes.
Lockers.
group. Yeah.
Yes, they're basically a support network of players who like provide like safe out of character spaces for people having trouble with anxiety. And of course, talk to PD. I can't tell you how many times I've had a problem, a mental health problem, and they've just swooped in and saved me.
They have a really good support network for crew and players. All you have to do is just go and find them and they will sort you out.
Yeah.
They are incredibly supportive. I don't think I've ever been to an event that caters so well for sort of people that fall within the spoonie category.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it is very, very, very impressive.
Rattle in my spoons for my fellow spoonies.
Yeah.
Because if you
Can
think
you like
about
Photoshop
it,
spoons in my hands? Like,
I'm not sure you want to be doing this on camera, to be honest.
and well, now you're just going to have to edit in the.
Yeah.
oh, as if I wasn't blushing enough.
I think I'm blushing on
it's
that
warm
one.
today.
Yeah,
Because if you think about it from the perspective of somebody who has anxiety, a massive field with 2,000 people that is very uncontrolled is terrifying. So if you feel scared, that's totally normal. don't be embarrassed about the fact that you feel anxious. But know that there are safe spaces that you can go to. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoonie tents.
I'll look around for those. Anxiety, from my perspective, the one thing that made me decide that I would come here for the first time was when I spoke to I think it was Matthew Pennington, the big G's. Spoke to him on the phone. I was trying to suss out what the actual arrangements were for like the outer character camping, and what I was trying to establish was can I just dip in and out of the game as and when I've got like the tent or the van that you stay in, and then can you just step in and step out? And it was a very big yes. That's absolutely what you can do, and that for me was the thumbs up. That was for me. That was if I wasn't going to get completely locked into something that I had to do, that would have been I couldn't have come here. But
You are in control of your game.
yeah, pretty
Absolutely.
much. So just by dipping in and out of the game as and when you see fit, that for me was enabled me to come along and try it out.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it's been ever since. I just, if I'm feeling a little bit, or you need to step back a bit, then I just pop back to the van, or if you've got a tent or whatever, go and chill out for a while, and then maybe step back in again. And that's how I generally cope with the anxiety side of things, and it works. So.
Just a couple of very quick tips. Because, you're pragmatic. If you are going to step away, make sure you tell people where you're going. Because if you just disappear and if you have a panic attack or something and you need help, if you tell people where you are, then they can come and help you. Make sure that you're topped up on your vitals. So have you drunk enough? Have you eaten enough? Have you slept enough? Have you drunk too much?
That can happen.
Yep, and that can trigger anxiety attacks and all sorts of shenanigans.
Coffee as well, don't overdo
Yeah,
it on the
not
coffees.
too much coffee or caffeine.
Or teas. Like tea is like it's not as nearly as much as coffee, but like tea can like make
Actually,
you all jittery.
some teas have a lot of caffeine.
And one last thing, just build a support network. So just have a group of friends around you. Me and my friend Tanya, she was in the last video, we've got this thing where we've got a little symbol like this, and if we make this symbol at each other, it's a little out of character way of saying you're okay.
Yeah.
And it's not invasive. You can just make it and you're like, yeah, I'm fine, or no, help me, save me.
Yeah, again, if you haven't got the luxury of a support group, again, PD is there for you. PD's got your back.
Okay, let's move on to another question.
Yeah. Ooh.
So, okay, this one is from Emma. If you don't understand something when someone is speaking to you in character, such as basic in-character knowledge, then what are good ways to explain you don't understand without breaking immersion?
That's a good one, isn't
Well,
it?
the obvious one is saying I'm new to Anvil.
I'm new to Anvil.
Yeah,
That's the key.
obvious. Yeah.
Well, this is my first time in Anvil.
Yeah.
Can you get away with like, this is my third time in Anvil, but I still don't understand?
Well,
I am still new. I'm
Yeah.
new to Anvil.
Yeah. Another thing is that like people here love to talk. Like let them sit down and explain stuff. Like they're knowledgeable and stuff. Just let them have a waffle, and they'll love you for it.
Actually, people
Better
do want
yet-
to tell their story, don't
Yeah.
they?
Better
Which is
yet,
good.
ask them to show you. Yeah. And of course, there is the there's the more interactive version of that. Them like you could apprentice for them. There's something in the mechanics of the game called apprenticing. Essentially, if you're supervised by a player with a certain skill, you can perform that skill, but under their supervision. So you can
Okay.
actually just try it out.
Like Learn a Driver.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pretty much. Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty good.
it's a great support thing.
Yeah, so if Ned was interested in the priest game, he could come to Estella and say, "Hey, can I learn a bit about pride?"
So, apart from saying this is my first time in Anvil, what are other good ways to explain that you don't understand without breaking immersion?
If you set up your character in such a way that they have at least a layer of naivete, people will be more inclined to go, "Oh, I see. Like, let me explain." Really, like it could be sort of less exaggerated stuff, like he or she simply comes from a place and has lived there their entire lives and never stepped out that much. On the other end of the scale, they can just be a complete and total idiot. And you could ham it up so hard. Like, they could be, like, just generally ignorant. They could, like, come off like they know everything, but then be like, I don't know anything. And, or they can just be, like... They could be like, you could play a super young character. I can't remember the name of the character, but there's a chappie in Ashen Hall that does it perfectly.
Grim.
That's right.
Grim.
Grim. I haven't met Grim yet.
No, I haven't
In
seen any of the
character.
tabletop guys wandering
I
around
met
yet. I don't know if
yeah,
they're
the guy
here
with
this week.
the
I'll see if
changeling
I can
guy.
introduce you.
Oh, that'd
But
be cool.
what the brilliant thing about Grim as a character is that he's just completely oblivious. Totally and completely oblivious. But what was brilliant about that is that he came into the game as this completely oblivious character, and now he's got people wanting to kind of say, no, Grim, it's like this. Explain,
okay.
explain.
So you actually get known for not knowing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't have to play an idiot. Like I said, you could play like just a child. You could play a hermit. You could play somebody who's just not straight out far outside of
Led a
their...
very
Isolated.
sheltered life.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's going to have to be Ned. I think he doesn't know a lot. He's been living in one place and not known a lot, and I think that I can get away with that.
Just in addition to that, this is specific to Empire, is that everybody, unless they're a child and part of the academy, has passed their citizenship test. And in that citizenship test, you have to be able to write. So you need to make sure that your character can at least write and probably speak reasonably well.
Should we go on to the next question?
You get in there.
Okay, next question is from Felix. What were some of your first mistakes you made at your first event? Anecdotes at the ready.
Okay, do you want to go first? Because I could like make a laundry list.
Time to hang out the dirty laundry. No.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Most of the mistakes I've made have been wandering into slightly... being inappropriate in certain situations that I didn't realise were basically going on. You can, turn up and something completely random can be happening and you have no idea. So me and Tanya wandered into the Senate building and a trial was going on, and it was someone who'd murdered somebody else and was being trialed as to whether, are you going to be sentenced to death or not? So incredibly serious. And Tanya whispered in my ear something about my in-character boyfriend's the size of his antlers and whether that correlates to the size of something else. And I guffawed really loudly and everybody turned.
Oh man,
It was really bad.
I'm so glad I wasn't there.
That was really, really bad. So yeah, don't... So yeah, that was bad.
Go on, Emily, what were some of your first mistakes?
One mistake I made was that this is something that's passed around a lot, It's like try to avoid picking all of your skills straight away.
That's what I said
Yeah,
in
you
the first
mentioned the
video.
last one, yeah.
I made
Yeah.
the mistake of thinking that combat was mandatory,
All right.
so I
It's
built.
not.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Guys, don't think that you have to come here and join in the massive battles. If you want to come and fight, then it's great because there is a lot for you, you know, if you're interested
Fantastic
in
battles.
that. But I think all three of us, I mean, I'm taking the battlefield this event for the first time, but you guys are non-com and you have a great time, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
So please don't think that.
But like, if combat sounds amazing, don't let us dissuade you.
No.
We're just like squishy. How about basing my entire decisions on what kind of character I play on the fact that I had a Renaissance-y looking shirt, and that's the sole reason I chose League, based on a shirt.
But was it a good choice?
Yeah, I still wear the shirt. But no, I didn't like. I clinged onto the League simply for the fact that I had one clothing article that suited the brief.
Yeah.
Oh, I tripped
Do
and
your
stumbled
research.
into the orc camp.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Alone?
that was great.
Unarmed?
Alone, unarmed.
Oh,
That was
dear.
great.
Oh. I was lucky enough to
what
be warned
else?
about that before I did it.
Not bringing warm enough clothing
Oh yes.
and suffering in my first night shivering to death.
Yes.
Yeah.
That reminds me, actually, a mistake I made first event. Bring earplugs.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you, like me, like to not stay up into really early hours and appreciate your beauty sleep, you know, you'll go to sleep and then get woken up by ridiculous shenanigans at 4 a.m. if you don't-
Shenanigans is a kind word. I've heard some very unlawful things at night
Oh, yeah.
that have like tiptoed in very gross territory, and
You just don't want to know.
you really don't.
No. Bring earplugs.
You were woken
children.
up in the middle of the night because of loud toothbrushing and a guy getting like
This morning I was
vomiting over himself apparently.
not at the same time that he was brushing his teeth. No. It was. I've got the giggles now.
He's like,
it's always
he's like
fun when the
jamming
corpsing begins.
like jamming the toothbrush too far into his throat and like triggering his gag reflex. Like, why isn't this working? It's supposed to be taking the bad away.
It's got one of those thick characters you was on about.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop my
You're right, okay.
How dare you? And I'm just gonna start crying randomly, and it's gonna make no sense in the editing.
Hey Kate, why are your cheeks so red?
Take a little break while Kate loses it. You're right there.
But I'll get through.
This is what Anvil does to you. It just kind of puts you in this place.
That's my core workout for the day.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we've finished all our mistakes then, are we?
Have you?
Yeah.
Do you have any that you could share?
The only mistake I made was when I first registered my character, I registered them as a healer and then realised I couldn't do the healing because it was generally too far away for me to do it.
That's
So
generally
yeah.
trial and error, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trial
Yeah.
and error at Empire. I started.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my journey. Right, over the 3 years I've played, I started off as I said, a combat mage because I didn't know combat wasn't mandatory. Then I became a physic for a while, and I also dabbled in winter magic just because some other lad that I wanted to form a group with was also interested. That didn't work out. Then I moved on to another coven, still doing winter magic, got a few more levels, and then I realised this is pants, I hate this. Now I'm a priest. So
And you like it?
I've just done about everything except do combat stuff. I even had a hero point at one point.
Nice.
Cool.
Good for you.
Yeah, I had stay with me so I could say patience. Hey, stay with me. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
Stay with me.
I call it a mistake, but it was a happy mistake.
Yeah.
Was when I chose to go with Dawn in the end. It's basically because it was near the car park at the time. Then they moved it, but
Bless
at the
you,
time,
Rick.
and I ended up in one of the best houses in Anvil, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, thank you.
Withering case.
But yeah, well, then they
Used
moved
to be
it.
in House of Zell.
Yeah.
Hey.
Actually, that was a worry for the anxiety people because we were at the top of the field, right
Yes,
next to
we've
the
moved
the
now,
out of
yeah.
character camping, and then they moved us right down to the bottom of the field, right way sort of almost outside of Anvil. It's like Andrew said, it's like we're holding siege to Anvil because
We
we're sort
pretty
of
much
just off.
are. Yeah.
But then they installed a new out of character camping field
have.
just next door, so it all worked out really well. Although I have my reservations about using that out of camping character field in the winter because it's the road is like quite sideways tilty.
Oh, yeah.
So in a tall van, it's going to be terrifying driving down that. So
Imagine if the brakes went off. Oh no, my van!
but we'll see.
My livelihood.
Okay.
What is a man without his van?
Exactly.
I'll just be Rick Man.
I'll just be Rick No Van Man. Rick No Van Man.
Rick man.
Right, shall we go for another one?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, blimey, this is a long one.
Ooh.
Okay, this is from Thomas.
Get your reading glasses on.
Okay, I've only done one event, so still fairly new. The question I would ask is probably, what is a good way to find plot hooks for your character to engage in and pursue? That's somebody at my front door. Like I ended up working with a League's man who was researching Bite for a little while, which was fun, but I didn't manage to get my character properly involved with that just yet. Is Bite a drug?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
It's
it was.
one hell of a drug.
Isn't it now illegal in
Yeah,
Empire?
it is, but people are still going to take it. It's not a real drug, by the way.
Not, yeah.
No.
It's
Must
It's
clarify
an
that.
acty drug.
It's a fantasy drug.
It's a potion that you take that gives you effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you act.
Yeah.
Which you act out.
Which you act out. It's not a real drug.
No.
We don't want to give it away, lads.
Yeah.
Right, so plot hooks.
Plot hooks.
So what was the question there?
So he basically means what's
Right.
a good way of finding plot, basically.
Plot hooks for your character to engage and pursue.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
That's a really tough one.
Because it depends. Are you talking about plot with a small p or capital P? So plot as in the plot of what's going on in the Empire.
The stuff that's written in and put out there by Profound Decisions.
Yeah.
We should probably clarify that.
Yes.
Because you can totally, like, just based on circumstance, make plot with a small p, which is basically just self-made plot.
Yeah, which I think is better in some ways.
Yeah, I subsist on it, basically. I mean, I dip my toe in now and again simply through this virtue of being with one of the most prominent winter covens in the League. And being a priest character, so I have some say in Synod. Good, that's not...
It is the Synod, yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness. I keep confusing it with Conclave for some reason.
Ooh. No, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Rick. But yeah, plot with a small p is basically self-made plot by virtue of characters interacting with one another.
Going out and talking to people.
Yeah.
That is plot with the small p.
Is that little mini skirmishes and things as well that they do?
Not
or is that more of a
quite. That's
PvP?
definitely plot with a capital P.
Alright.
It's like how I've, in Gronya's eyes, I've become just like, you know, this.
Estella's just a bit naughty.
Yeah.
And Gronya loves it. Like, she's not meant to be interacting with Estella for
Yeah.
many reasons, but she loves it.
But that's plot with a small p.
Right.
We have just created plot with a small p just by interacting with one another and sort of like establishing this relationship. So if I were to come back to House Orzel and kick up a stink by, you know, flirting with you again and showing my little tail feathers, and I would,
Swoon.
yeah. That could kick up a stink around here because one, you've got marriage plot going on, right?
Possibly.
Oh yeah.
Also, it's just generally like being overtly flirty in Dawn
Yeah.
is mega controversial.
To a noble,
Is-
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where Ned, because Ned's sort of your retainer, would he have to sort of like step in as a chaperone and start going?
It's his choice basically.
All
So
right,
that's
okay.
your choice to govern, because you're in control of that plot with a small p.
Yeah.
You can decide: is Ned, does he care? Is he, or does he really like Estella and he's going to let this go?
Oh, this looks fine.
Or is he going
Carry
to,
on.
yeah, or is he going to be really protective?
Yeah.
That's your
Okay.
choice.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
Now,
that's good.
plot with a big P. Plot with a big P is written stuff that is written by the plot writers and then put out by crew.
Matt Pennington, Andy Raff,
Yeah.
all these people.
This is the stuff that comes from things like the Winds of War and the Winds of Fortune, and the stuff that happens when wonderful, wonderful crew members who have like volunteered their time to do this,
Thank you.
bless, are coming out as what are called non-player characters, NPCs for short, and they're basically walking around just looking to cause trouble. Yeah, like either talk to a specific character about something to get like something going, and or whoever gets to them first, basically. Creatures like Heralds of Eternals, or there was a fantastic plot with a capital P in the League when a guy went around just handing out marriage proposals to people.
Well, just at random.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like just finding women saying you're the love of my life. Here's like my letter of like unrequited love, and there was like blank spaces for them to put their name in. And he did fantastically.
Did you end up getting
Fantastic.
married?
Well, here's the thing. Well, it's kind of a long story, but long story short, like we found it really offensive because that's not how we roll. So like in Breaking Hearts, hit left here and right. So we set up a trap for him. We set up a wedding for him, and then we got him nicked and sent off with the militia. Got him arrested. Good stuff. And we got him cursed.
Oh,
It was
okay.
great fun. So much fun.
So
And that's the difference between plot with the little p and a capital P.
Yeah, so that guy was an NPC and he was sent out by the plot writers. He was not a player character.
Right,
A player
okay.
character could decide to do that. But yeah, this is a person who has been sent out and that is their only job.
Yeah.
They have no other motivation.
Yeah.
So,
And that's
yeah.
just one example. I
Oh,
mean,
there's
it could
so
be,
many.
There's like a sovereign could walk into Varushka and say, "What are you all doing? Like, what are you doing to my land? What are you doing to my wolves?" Kind of thing, and kick up a stink and like flip a table and just be like, "If you don't do such and such, I'm gonna like go around threatening people," kind of thing. That's just one of many examples. Getting involved in that stuff first time around. Oh, that's really tough. That's really, really tough because unless you've come a couple of times, you need to kind of get used to the ebb and flow of Anvil life first to kind of really suss out when plot is happening. Because the one of the unfortunate downsides of a lot of players having really amazing clothing is that they get mistaken for heralds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For example, Medea Ruth, who actually has to walk around with a patch. An embroidered patch saying, "I'm not a herald."
So
I'm a
what's the
player
herald?
character. So, do you remember I mentioned the banquet?
Oh, what, the lobster claw guy?
Yeah, the lobster claw guy. He was a herald.
Oh,
so,
so what's the difference between a herald and an eternal?
an
then?
eternal is a being, not a god, but a godlike being who technically we won't ever meet. But a
Right.
herald is like a messenger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Who will-
messengers of the
Who
Eternals.
will
Oh, with you, okay.
manifest as an NPC.
So the Eternals are these basically fictitious
Yeah.
things that you never actually
Godlike
see,
creatures.
but
Godlike
the
creatures,
heralds are their popes, if you like, I guess.
Yeah, you could say.
Mm.
Yeah, they're minions.
They're
Yeah.
minions, basically.
But they're not very
Yeah.
minion-like. They're very cool looking.
Yeah, and they're actually very
With-
sentient.
With lobster
They are
claws.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as to answering the question, it really is tough. Sometimes you'll twig when a sort of like a plot opportunity happens. I think the best you can do is two things. Try to kind of talk to people is the big one. And that's such a generalized term, but I think just try to like exaggerate the aspects of you, like your greatest character traits as a person. For a first character, you're going to end up playing a fantasy version of you anyway. So use that and big up the most sort of like the positive aspects of your personality and just ramp them up to 10. And use that as a catalyst to not only meet and talk with people, but also talk about the world and suss out when opportunities that play to your character's interests and just pursue them. And sometimes they'll reach dead ends. I mean, there's a lot of gossip around the field, there's a lot of Chinese whispers that kind of gets obscured, but that's just that's an unfortunate part of a world that doesn't have any, like, cell phones. I'm sorry, mage tablets.
Yeah.
Well, I just have a quick addition to that. In order to have a good game, you don't have to get involved in plot with a capital P. It's very difficult to seek out, and I think it's much more important to look for personal plot. And also, you might bump into plot with a big P without even knowing it.
Yeah.
In my first event, we had Matt Pennington, the creator,
the man.
the man, the big cheese, come into this tent, and I didn't realise it was him, and he was
Was
having
he in
this
character, was he?
yeah,
Oh,
he's an
right.
amazing role player,
Okay.
and he was playing this very grumpy, like, scary character, and that was plot with a big P, and it was happening right in front of me, and I had no
Literally,
idea.
he was the big P.
He was
Yeah. The big P playing big P.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you might stumble across it, and if you do, jump into it because it's so fun.
Oh, another one is volunteering for people.
Yeah.
Just volunteering for people, being an asset to people, just being a helping hand, and try and put yourself forward as, like, a helpful person. Like, reason with the skills that you have, sort of, like, as yourself and mechanically from your character sheet. Like, try to offer yourself to people and to get involved. Be a helping hand. And be willing to volunteer and be willing to do a little bit of running around. I think that's a good way to do
Get
it.
you into some plot hooks. This one's from Sally. What would be advisable to do if you get to Anvil and at time in after your nation's welcoming / Earl's Council / standing, etc., you feel
Got it.
lost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if your egregores are too busy to help you. So basically, what happens if you get here late?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, so I think the essential thing here is to do the groundwork before the event. So go on to Facebook, find out who is in your nation, try and maybe attach yourself to a house, which is what Rick did, which is what I did. I don't know if you did the same, similar.
I should have done.
Exactly.
I am now, but I should have done.
Because egregores, they're wonderful, but they are incredibly busy.
Yeah, bless
So
them.
if you get here late, you have a tent to go to, you have people to look after you. So make those connections beforehand so
Yeah.
you won't feel so alone. Because I think the loneliest place is being at a LARP event because everybody looks so busy.
Yeah.
But, you know, in reality, you can very easily slot into that. So do the groundwork online.
Oh, guys, we've got some Atmo.
I was going to say there's some singing going on over there.
So
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful,
Mm.
man. It's beautiful.
Practicing.
I would say that my answer to that question is be willing to kind of, like, put an ear to the ground as soon as you get on field. You're going to be like, right, mates, what's been happening? Like, is there anything that we should know or I
Tell
should
me
know?
the news.
Tell me, give me the good word or the bad word.
But coming from, if it's somebody who's here on their own, never been here before, don't know what to do,
Yes.
I would just say wander around, just look for opportunities to have conversations. Even if people look really busy, there will be people who are not necessarily looking that busy. Just talk to people, and people here are really, really easy to talk to.
Yeah, good example. I remember recently I actually chatted to one of your guys in House Orzel about the origins of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that kicked off a really amazing story about how you guys migrated from Varushka. So if you could go around, like, you know, just asking people who they are and what they're up to,
Ask them their
they
story.
will love it. They will love it. This is sort
So
of
we
an
go-
extension of what I said earlier.
We go back to what we said earlier, yes, that people
Precisely.
want to tell you their story. So
Yeah.
you ask them their story, strike up a conversation, and then slip in maybe
Yeah.
like
We're
you know,
trying to accomplish this thing.
do you
Would you
want me
like
to-
to join along?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's the one constant around here is that so many people are willing to say, "Oh, come on in, come on, you know,
Yeah.
come join us."
Yeah.
All you got to
always
do is
say
just,
yes.
just have a
Well,
conversation.
not always. If it looks a little bit too dark in there, come into the tent.
Try and say yes.
Yeah.
So basically, talk to people.
Yeah, talk to people.
Okay, next question is from Maximus.
Maximus.
What do you need to bring to your first event, i.e. basic kit and amount of money?
Oh, earplugs.
Yeah, I'll second the earplugs.
Right, you want to know like a magic item? Magic item if you're camping?
Yes.
Mattress topper.
Ooh.
I've only just discovered this recently, but it is a lifesaver.
Okay.
Mattress toppers.
Well, like a normal household one.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like a nice thick pillowy one. Because
On top of your airbed.
yes,
Mm.
it is
yeah,
a
yeah.
lifesaver. I mean,
I'll
if
go
you
with
can
that.
get one of those beds that like raise you off the ground, that's great too. But if you can get like a mattress topper, whether you're on and off the ground, it will save you. Because it's an extra layer of warmth, and it stops my bum from being cold.
You don't want a cold butt. No.
I had for 2 years running. I struggled with my bum just being once, and all I wanted was toasty buns. All I wanted was toasty buns. I now have toasty buns
Good.
because of mattress toppers. Get
Excellent.
you a mattress topper.
Get you your toasty buns.
I would say if you're camping, don't worry about food so much because there's lots of food supplies here, and you can buy a ticket. It's like a 10 meal ticket, is it? I think.
Yes.
Which they basically supply you like is it 3 squares a day
pretty
for
much.
the entire event. So you don't necessarily have to worry about food. I don't know how much they charge, but I think they're quite reasonable. To be honest, you're going to have to just obviously employ a little bit of common sense. Sort of if you're going to go camping, then go for the usual camping stuff as if you were going camping. But then
Yeah.
obviously bear in mind, the cold nights and
Yeah.
the extra kit you're going to need for your in character times and stuff.
Consider the elements that you're going to be up against.
Yeah. Right, this one's from Mike, and it's: do you think it's at all possible or advisable for someone to try to find game without placing such a strong emphasis on conflict?
I have strong feelings.
So do I.
The strongest feelings.
Take it away.
That statement, you may have heard this advice kicking around before, like be the villain in someone else's story. That statement is true, it just needs to be expanded upon to say that be the best friend in someone else's story, be the brother, be the mother, be the awkward cousin, be the be the wise man, be the wise woman in someone else's story. Because here's the thing, some people don't like pretend conflict. Like, some people don't even like conflict with a capital C. I think it should be rephrased to saying, like, play your character to their full potential and you will make game for people. And, like, when I say that, you've got to find your niche. Like, something like a roleplay style that you enjoy playing, and if you ramp that up to 10, you'll make some really great game for people. Bessie the Bard. She just played an absolute...
Bless her soul.
She will return to us. She will return to us. She will live again. She will pass through the labyrinth. All that good stuff. Esme played a character who was just full of personality, just was so out there. She made game for people because she just acted completely ridiculous. She wasn't a villain. I mean, she got in, like, she became other people's villains because she had some conflicting ideals with them, but that just occurs naturally. Like, in real life, you can't be everybody's friend because everybody has all these conflicting ideals. What you gotta do, you've just gotta set out, like, a sort of character that you want to play and just ramp it up to 10. Just never play someone who's, like, isolated, otherwise you're bored and you don't make any game for anybody else. I enjoy playing a priest because I get to do what I love most, which is helping people. And I have a great time doing that. Like, but apparently the only reason why that is because I've never worked in retail. So if you've worked in retail and you want to get some anger out, be an asshole if you want to. But on the other hand, if you're somebody who, like, I've tried it, man. I've tried doing conflict with Estella, and I don't like it. It just makes me feel like crap. Like, it feels like a lost opportunity to hang with a character. It just doesn't make me feel good. It bleeds too hard for me. Like, I have a very thin bleed threshold. And I just my game is, like, making people happy. Or at least making their characters happy, or just have a little bit more of direction with them. Fill them with pride, because that's what I'm all about. But yeah,
You should be in Dawn.
don't you
about
don't you
pride.
talk those dirty words to me.
Well, they like pride, apparently. Got anything to add to that, Grania?
I think it just depends on the people that you surround yourself with, basically. You know, if you find a group that's really, you know, up for getting into fights all the time, then you're going to be dragged into that action. If you don't want to be involved in that, find a group that is...
Oh no.
Battery.
Oh, there goes the battery.
Oh, I got a spare one.
Okay.
And
You
we're
don't, you're
back.
beautiful.
Are you right, okay? You're looking
I'm
a little
so
warm.
hot.
Tell you what, have a fan.
Thank you.
There
It's
you go.
ridiculous out here.
Oh,
It is a little bit
goodness.
warm.
The fact, like, I
So-
mentioned a mattress topper in the last part.
Mm.
That
Like, I
will
didn't
not
have to
help
wear it. I didn't have to use it this
You
time.
didn't have to wear it. Was that in character? Was that?
No, I just like cocooned myself in, and I
The
emerge a
marshmallow
beautiful butterfly.
Oh, yes. Yes, conflict.
Okay, cornflake.
I think it's cornflakes.
Cornflakes. Conflicts.
It's basically the people who you choose. Choose wisely. I'd say don't go for people if you're not into getting into loads of fights. Don't choose a group that likes to go off in skirmishes all the time. If you don't like shouty people, don't join a group that shouts at each other. Yeah, just find people that you feel comfortable with.
Remember, Empire's a buffet.
It is.
You get to pick and choose what you want. I will say that if you find a mate that you really, really trust, they make great in-character rivals because you guys can establish like what you're comfortable and not comfortable with, and you can just have fun like being a-holes to each other. Because there is fun in that, and again, but. The thing to remember above all is that you have options. Empire is an incredibly independent, experience-driven game. And you can choose what you're comfortable with and what you're not. You can,
That's good.
like, play
True
a
as well.
shouty, you know, like, conflict-driven, just like, I live off of making people miserable. Or you can play a dainty flower or somewhere in between.
I found that really surprising. My first trip, as soon as it was in game time, there were people having absolute screaming matches at each other. They were right in each
They're
other's
probably
faces,
best friends.
screaming and shouting
Yeah.
at each other. I mean, one guy, he was going. You could see his face was going bright red while he was like screaming and shouting at this person.
It's very cathartic.
And I'm like,
Oh, LARP
really?
is such a relief.
it's amazing. It was just like, whoa.
Oh.
Yeah,
Catharsis City. Just like
I have to
like
agree with that.
because I walk all over the field, up and down this long field, like for 3 days straight, and I get involved with all of this intense sort of like interpersonal roleplay. I come out of it feeling the most refreshed ever. Like I've got like it should probably be saved for another day, but I've got a great story from when I first did LARP, where halfway through I actually felt like I was going to leave because I didn't think it was for me. Like. If it weren't for some friendly people taking me on board, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here talking to you.
That's good.
But I just remember sitting in the bath, like, after, like, the event was over, and, like, I've got to go again. Like, I need to go back. I need to go back. Because I just found that thing, and you will find that thing. That little thing that brings you back.
I was going to say, it does call you back, doesn't it?
It does.
And I've had conversations, especially on that very on E1, it was a total quagmire, and everybody was having this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And you know, people say, "Oh, I'm not sure if I want to come back again," but you always end up coming back.
Yeah.
Because there's something about it that
It's
just
addictive.
calls you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just such a relief. Like, I can come into work completely sore from top to bottom, but feeling... It doesn't matter because you just feel so mentally refreshed.
I'm obviously doing something wrong because I normally need a fortnight to get over it because I'm mentally exhausted
It can
for 2
also
weeks.
be mentally exhausting.
It's
Like,
so
event
intense.
drop is a thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
it totally is.
What was that?
Event drop.
Yeah.
Event drop.
So
What's that?
you've had such a kind of extreme roller coaster, as you say, over that weekend, which you don't normally have. So it's totally normal to when you come home and you come back to the sort of monotony of life. Monopoly of life. I
Man,
wish.
The dog statue again. I wanted to be the hat.
Yeah, you can feel a little bit low, and
You have
that's
a
totally
bit
fine.
of an emotional crash.
The
Maybe.
emotional
Yes,
crash,
pretty much, yeah.
energetic crash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my partner, we tend to just lie on the Monday after Empire. We lie on the sofa, eating, crisps. Just
Yeah.
Pot
being-
noodles.
Pot noodles.
Sometimes you can have an amazing time at Empire, but it can be so good that you have a vent drop when you come home because it's over.
I want to be there again. Yeah, and now I have to wait for a month.
I don't want to wait.
Yeah, see,
To be over.
that's drawing parallels with drugs, because when you take drugs, it's you get the high, but then you get the crash, and,
Yeah.
and then you end up taking the drugs to not get the crash. That's when you get hooked, and that's the
Take
addiction.
love in moderation,
So
kids.
yeah,
Only 4 times a year.
Yeah.
that's probably why it's moderate.
Yeah.
Actually, it's such a big deal to do, though. I mean, I can't see them doing it more than 4 times. I mean, 4 times a year, it's got to be full on
Yeah.
the whole year just
Some
to make
people
it
go
happen.
to multiple settings and Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
see,
insane people.
I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. I haven't got the mental energy.
I haven't got the car. That's the only thing stopping me.
All right. Shall we go on to the next one?
Yeah.
We got three or four more questions
Yeah.
left. Okay, so we'll whiz through these ones and then we'll call it a day. So this one's from Martha. What do I do when I get to my first event? Well, we sort of covered that, haven't we?
Yes.
But specifically, what you do as soon as you hit time in.
Yes.
The
'cause
first
that
thing
can
I
be
did,
daunting.
the first thing, it depends on whether you're with a group or not. If you're not with a group, I'd say sit down at the first cafe and get yourself a drink and just drink in that atmosphere. It's like pure liquid atmosphere. Look at like the people around you, like going off and doing their own thing, and just acclimate.
Become a people watcher for a while.
Yeah,
really.
just
Yeah.
enjoy the fact that you're here and you're watching you're basically in another world, and just listen to people and just kind of sort of, you don't even have to necessarily pick up what they're saying, but picking up like their tone of language and use that as kind of like a catalyst, sort of like ferment keen for a bit. Just sip on a cuppa and just enjoy the fact that you're in this amazing world.
Don't
Be
rush
present.
about. Just feel like
Yeah.
feel like you've got to do something. You can
Yeah.
just
You don't
sit
have
and
to.
be and
Yeah.
just see what happens.
Or go to the nation meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good too. Yeah.
It's different for each nation, but Wintermark they'll have their big meeting pretty much as soon as like the game starts. I think in the league they have the princes meeting.
Yep. In Dawn we have the Earls Council, which is held in this
Oh yeah,
tent.
that'll
Yeah.
be tonight, won't it?
Yep, that'll be
Yeah.
tonight. You can come and just sit and listen to people.
Yeah. So first
yeah.
event, first time in character, just sit and acclimate. Just listen to people talking and just enjoy it. Just enjoy the fact that you're in this crazy other dimension for like 3 days.
And
Don't feel like you even have to do anything. Just enjoy yourself. Go on a pub crawl.
Yeah.
A pub crawl in another world. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Or
Yeah.
someone comes running into camp and says, "We need people for a skirmish." Get on that. Just do just follow people. Don't stalk people.
Dude,
I like your videos.
Yeah,
Rick.
that would be creepy.
Hello.
Okay. Kate, you got anything to add to that? Or
I just kind of, sort of, it relates to mindfulness almost. You can say, be in the moment, take a moment to appreciate what's around you, be present, and savour those first moments because you're never going to have them again. I remember the first person I spoke to at LARP. It was kind of pre-arranged because it was my partner and he was always going to be in the same place, so I went up to him and spoke to him, and it was magical because you speak, especially if you know them out of character and you suddenly have that first in-character interaction and you realise you're talking to somebody else. It's quite spooky.
Yeah.
And then
Revel in it. Just
yeah,
revel
exactly.
in it.
Just enjoy it because
Yeah.
you're never going to have it again. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to the next question. This is from Aaron. Any examples of basic in-character gear would be great. I find it difficult sourcing some of the accessories, notebooks, shoes, etc., as I didn't have a base to go from other than reenactment websites where everything has to be authentic.
Charity shops, brother.
Charity shops, retail outlets like TK Maxx,
Primark.
Primark, also army surplus festivals, theatre. Okay, you know treasure troves, theatre sales,
Oh my goodness, yes.
treasure trove.
You can
stuff.
find some amazing things.
Like, keep your ear to the ground and find out when theatres are selling off old costume, because it's just like opening Aladdin's cave of costumes.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, theatres.
or
Yeah.
even online, especially on Facebook, there's a lot of Empire-specific pages where people sell their old kits.
Yeah.
So if you pick up a new piece of kit and then suddenly, you can almost surround your character around that piece of kit.
Yeah, try to keep it cheap for your first experience at Empire,
Yes.
because the sad
Don't.
reality is that there's a very real possibility that you might want to change nation, or you might not enjoy it. And it would be sad for you to have spent all of that money on this elaborate costume if you're never going to use it again.
Yeah.
So, like, it sucks that maybe your costume won't live up to, like, some of the other characters. But that's not important. Costume isn't important. It's all about having fun and enjoying the experience. Just make sure you don't, like, come in with, like, a polo and trunks.
Yeah.
And then you'll be fine. But
Well-
just try to keep it cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As there also places to get stuff. If you actually come along to Anvil, the shops here are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Although
They are. They're on the
there's-
expensive side.
yeah, there's
so
not necessarily the cheapest,
like,
but they have all sorts of little bits and bobs and little trinkety things.
I've
And,
just gone out and treated myself to
Oh,
some
right.
new armour. Shall I bring it? Would that be in?
yeah,
Yeah?
that-
I'll
yeah,
just go and grab
that'd be
that.
cool. Is it nearby?
Yeah. While she's getting that, in fact, there's a place here at Anvil called Dash Shop, and Dash Shop, you could, if you have any costume bits that you don't want to use anymore, you can trade it in with her if it's
Oh,
still
really?
in decent quality, and she can trade something back.
Oh, that's
It's
worth
very
knowing because
Yeah.
I got wardrobes
It's
for the
basically a
stuff at
trading
home.
post.
Do it.
It is like a
Do
costume
it.
trading post. I traded a cape I didn't want anymore for a doublet that my mum is going to wear when she comes LARPing with me.
Oh, cool! You bringing your mum?
I brought my mum already. She wants
Oh,
to
really?
come back.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
Muma.
that's some fine-looking braces.
These
you
are
got
some
there.
braces that I got today. So it's a little,
They look
just a little
Canadian
treat.
almost. They got like little Canadian leaves on them.
Yeah,
Not quite,
almost. Almost.
But they look well
Yeah, so
cool.
these are the house colours, as you can see. But yeah, you can come to the event and just treat yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, charity shops are your friend.
Army surplus, especially for stuff that's like stuff that's to protect you and make sure that you're not a slave to the elements.
Yeah.
Army surplus is great for that.
So there we go. Lots of great tips there. Right, we're down to two more questions.
Oh.
Okay, one from Oliver. How do I get into the religious aspect of the game?
How do you indeed?
Take it away.
Yeah.
Take it away, Holly.
I would say, pick like, again, it's one of those things where you won't really know a sort of like the true sort of like nature of the virtues until you hit the field and sort of like discuss it with people, because pride is the one that my priest is associated with, but it's not the Christian version of pride. It's their interpretation of pride is a good thing. It's like having self-confidence and self-belief in what you've accomplished and what others of your house have accomplished. Stuff like things your friends have made, things that like you've made, things that you've like gone out and done to make the Empire a better place, and things that you produce to represent, like to make that known. Like this Orzel banner is an example of pride. This is telling people like, we're House Orzel. You prove it.
That's our motto, isn't it?
Yeah, that's your motto.
We are
And-
a pride house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That
it's
is one of the virtues that we
Yeah.
follow.
like, it's not a case of somebody has to ask you that's your house motto. They know it because it's there. That's pride.
It's in your
And-
face.
Yeah.
In your face.
Yeah. So you've like read the briefs on the virtues first, and figure out what they're about, and then pick a virtue. And if all of them are interesting, you can actually play a priest of the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can just like be kind of
all of
virtue
them.
savvy all around, or like come into the game saying like, I'm a priest, but I don't know which virtue to attach myself yet, so I've come as a priest of the way. But all I say, if you pick a virtue, you hone in on that virtue and ramp it up to 10, and consider what that virtue means to your character specifically. In Estella's case, she's found it to be a great motivator and a sort of like a great icebreaker, and she loves running around and letting people know that they have that they are valuable and they have something that they should be proud of. And if they don't feel like they have something like that, she sets them out and she goes and tells them to go and find something to be proud of. Be prideful.
Okay, last
question.
Last question. Okay, this one's from Morgan. For new players, it may be difficult to get involved. How can they do that quickly to break through into Empire and to get the full experience?
I have opinions.
You have opinion?
Fire away.
I have opinions.
You have an opinion?
I have an opinion. I have lots of opinions, but I have one opinion about this, and it's very strong.
Okay.
Tell me your opinion.
Out of character, I'm quite a shy, small bean. Quite nervous. So when creating Ronya, I created someone who's very outgoing and bubbly and happy, as a way to challenge myself to just, talk to people and be interested in people and be really enthusiastic. And I think that is the main way to get into the game, is to choose a character who is either, really interested in people, really enthusiastic about a certain thing, or like really confident. Because, you can feign that, you can pretend to be confident. And there's the whole thing, fake it until you make it, even if you're not confident. If you pretend to be, that will actually bleed through, into your... That's good LARP bleed.
Yeah, that's good LARP bleed, yeah.
I think, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, create a character that is really outgoing.
Yeah, but don't push yourself more than you're able to. Because, if you...
Be mindful.
Be mindful of yourself. Realise, if you feel like you're hitting your threshold, hitting your boundaries a little bit,
Totally.
Yeah, recognise that and don't push yourself any further than you have to. I will say LARP is a fantastic tool to help you widen those boundaries, but don't completely destroy yourself.
Yeah, but kind of on the other end of the scale, I think some people will come into the game being like, well, I'm nervous, so I'm going to play Butterfly. I'm going to play... Butterfly intermission. I'm going to play a really nervous character and I'm going to sit back. And that can end up being quite boring.
Or I'm an edgelord and
or a wallflower.
Yeah.
And people don't tend to come to you.
Yeah, no.
So go to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can
That's
be really
my advice.
hard. The three of us, I think we can appreciate how hard that is.
So hard.
But once you get the ball rolling, it's just so much easier after that. So
you are
we
so
know
brave.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that going up and talking to people is a big ask. But once you get the ball rolling, it is so much easier.
And it's so much easier to do here than it is out in the real world. In the real, can I call it that? The real world. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Our little bubble.
Yeah, it's so much easier to do in this little bubble that we've got here.
bubble.
That's a really good description.
Yeah. One of the things I love about LARP is that you can take what you've learned about yourself and what your limitations are and what you feel like what your strengths are, and realizing things that you thought you weren't too capable of. You can take that and bring it into real life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the things I really enjoy about it, because I if you talked to me 6 years ago, I would have never been this chatty. I wouldn't have been able to even sit in front of a camera.
Same.
Well, it's funny you should say that. When I first started YouTube 11 years ago, if you'd have said to me, just sit in front of the camera, I'd have been, no way, I'm not sitting in front of the camera. It took about 10 videos. I made about 10 videos where I was really conscious of the camera being there. After that, just didn't think about it. And what came along as a result was more confidence about being in front of the camera, to the extent where you didn't even think about it. And I'm assuming that's going to translate here as well. When you become this more confident character, or it might have to push to start that off, but once it happens, you sort of end up doing it without thinking too much about it, and then that can bleed over into your real life.
And you will make mistakes, and that is totally fine.
Yeah, totally.
Do not beat yourself up for making silly mistakes. Just think of it as a funny thing
Yeah.
and move on, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, and people are so understanding that they'll
Oh, they're
support
so
you.
understanding. Yeah.
I mean, well, there are some people that are going to be kind of like a little bit hoity-toity about it.
There's
But you
always
just,
people like that.
there's always people like that, no matter where you go.
You can go.
And Rick, I will say, like, I've got to give it to you. You are so incredible for like sticking with this for so long as you have.
Thank you.
Like, the easy thing would have been to run away, but like you've just taken to it,
But the
and
thing
that's
is,
really
it's-
admirable.
It's been so easy, to be honest. I mean, it's just such a brilliant place to be. How could I not want to come here? You know, it's just so cool. So- and the people, and the people.
Oh, you guys, look at you lovelies.
Right.
But there we go. So that's all of the questions we've got here. So thanks for that, guys. Hopefully
Thank you for
that
having us.
may have answered some questions that new
Hopefully.
people may or may not have. Let's move that up again. So there we go. We're going to go off now and probably chill out for the rest of the afternoon before
I'm gonna have a nap.
in time begins at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
And no doubt maybe we may make more videos in the future.
I'm gonna fall asleep in my costume
Hope
anyway, so
so.
I'll probably just turn up like, "Hey, Rick, things happened."
How's it going? I found plot with a capital B.
I look forward to that.
I need to show you my peas.
I don't even know what that means. And on that note, I think we'll sign off. So thanks for watching, guys. And from myself, from Kate, and from Holly, we wish you a good day.
Bye.
Bye.